The best way to take your mirrorless filmmaking to the next level is to actually rig it out. And in this video, I take you through all the small rigging options for the Canon R6 and R5. Let's go. Before we go any further, consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. I've uploaded rigging cages for the 90D, the C200, which I'm filming on now, and how to use easy rigs. I've done a plethora, if you will, of filmmaking content. So if you're into any of that, feel free to subscribe. And even if you're not, maybe consider subscribing anyway, because I'll really appreciate it. So thanks for that. So here it is, the new cage for the R6 and R5 from SmallRig. It's the same cage. It'll fit both cameras, so don't worry. You are picking up the right one. The first thing is the NATO rail is included on top, and there's actually no screws. It's just one piece of metal, which is kind of a good feeling, knowing that little screws aren't gonna fall off and your camera is safe. It also has two this time. Usually they only have one, but it's got two anti-twist pins that go into holes on the bottom of your R6 or R5. So I'll attach this right now to the R6. If you're not familiar with SmallRig Cages, they have these awesome little hidden tools that are actually magnetized to the bottom of all their cages. So you never need to carry around keys or looking for a coin to tighten up. Now your camera's protected, you got heaps of mounting points. Time to get a handle. Now you don't need to buy the NATO rails anymore. You just need a NATO handle, which I absolutely love these handles. Why? Because they are so quick to attach, and I recommend never buying a screw-on handle again. NATO rails all day long. And this one just slides onto the new cage and locks on, which the benefits of this is you're getting a much sleeker profile now, which is good for distributing weight, less parts to buy, so you're actually saving money because you don't need to buy the attachment, and it's way more secure because instead of gripping onto some screw attachments onto the cage, you're actually just onto the physical cage itself. And the benefits, once again, is the more you rig out your camera, the more the weight is actually distributed through the cage, not on the actual camera. So it's a big plus for protecting your camera, and also filming low shots, a top handle. I cannot recommend, if you're just gonna get anything, I always recommend getting a cage and the top handle, and then you're set. Now to take it one step further, I recommend you get these handles for run and guns. And once again, being SmallRig products, they have a hidden Allen key in the bottom of the handle, magnetized. Now this is to adjust these screws here, which means you can change the height of this handle, and also there's little holes in here which you can just put this in, and then you can tighten up these screws nice and tight, because if you're gonna be holding this camera by this handle, you want it to be secure. And once you're done, you're happy with the height, you just pop that back in there. This is the best like run and gun handheld way you can film with these cameras, because you've got 2 points of solid contact, and you can just pull the screen out and you can go all day, which I absolutely love when you're trying to get quick movements. If you're in a small place like a car, like filming in the passenger seat, there's so many advantages of picking up this side handle as well, just to give those points of contact and really step up the quality of the images you're actually gonna be capturing through this camera. Because this paired with the stabilized lens in these new Canon cameras, this is just an awesome combination here, which is gonna make your footage actually look more cinematic. Because the trick is, if you're not aware, is cinematic handheld shots come because cinema cameras are more heavy, so you get rid of those micro shakes. So the stabilization and more points of contact is gonna make your camera look heavy without actually breaking your back, which is absolutely fantastic, and your shots will look more cinematic. Now, I wanna actually compare this to the old generation of SmallRig cages they made for DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, because there's a lot of noticeable improvements, which I wanna let you know, just in case you're wondering if it's worth getting a cage or just trying to use one of your existing. So I've got the 90D here, which, as you can see, side by side, there's a couple of noticeable difference straight away. The first is the R6 and R5 cage is way more form-fitting. It's got these curves going around. It's way more tighter and form-fitting, not as twisting, and there's no screws. It's just one piece of metal. Compared to the 90D and the old cages, there's these little screws all around holding this cage together in every part, and there's these big gaping holes through this thing, meaning like things can get through and crack your screen. It's actually not that well protected, and I've actually lost some of these little screws over vibrations and not being tightened up, and they've actually fallen out and I've lost them, making it not super secure. But with the new cage, there's no little screws holding. It's just one piece of metal. So it's a lot more stable and form-fitting, and I absolutely love it. Now you can really see the size difference in these cages, and you can see the height difference with the adjusted NATO rail attachment you have to put on. It really brings up the height of this camera, and the gaps in between this camera are much more compared to the R6 and R5. And the biggest thing is I've moved the HotShoe for your microphone or monitor. So the 90D cage and all their old cages have it to the side, but there's actually no stopper. So you can slide it in and it can just go straight out, which I've actually sometimes had problems where no matter how tightened I've tightened it, it falls off. Whereas the new cage, I've actually moved it to the other side, out of the way of your dials, which makes sense because your hand is over here and you're trying to press these buttons too. So to have a microphone in the way, it's just not practical. So they moved it over to the other side. And the other thing they've done is they've created a stopper. Now this is huge. They have listened so much to their customer base. Look at that. So now it's out of my way. If I had the handle, top handle, it's fantastic. So there's some of the noticeable changes that I've noticed between the old cages and the new, so it is worthwhile investing. And it also shows that SmallRig is continually developing better and better cages for such great value. I don't actually think there's better cages out there for what you get from SmallRig. So once again, links in description, check it out. And before we wrap up this video, I know what you're wondering. You're wondering, Josh, but yeah, I get it, but what other things can this cage do? Well, there's a couple of different reasons why you'll want a cage, and let me show them to you now. Maybe you want to go handheld and rig it out really nicely like this and really get some good stable shots. I like shooting like this. It's awesome. So it's also pretty useful when you want to rig it out super heavy and make it pretty cinema style and attach it to an easy rig. This is why top handles are awesome. And I leave this cage on for everything. This is my base. This is what I put in my everyday carry bag and my moment travel bag. This goes in it with the cage on. And you're saying,
but Josh, I love using gimbals. What if I put it on a gimbal?
Wow, wow, wow. It's just, this never comes off. It goes in my carry bag, my moment carry bag. You can check that video out here. You can check other SmallRig videos out here as also. But otherwise, that's it. I think you should definitely check it out. If you have any questions or please leave them in the comments below. And if you want to talk about your rigging options or something I should look at, different options, please feel free, fire off in the comments. And remember to subscribe already if you're not already. And I will see you guys next week in the next video, which is going to be awesome. See you then. Peace out.